Kia ora and welcome to this episode of The Amateur Austenite. I'm Frances Duncan, author, Austenite life coach. With me as always is the lovely Rachel Pilwell, book buyer, Austenite and all-round nerd.
Hello!
Today we're discussing chapter 26 of Emma by Jane Austen. This is the party at the Coles.
Whoop whoop, party time.
Mr. Knightley uses his carriage for Jane Fairfax and Miss Bates, which makes Mrs. Weston think that he's into Jane, and Emma has a panic about this, but she does not know why. Jane has received a mysterious piano. Emma thinks comes from Mr. Dixon. Mrs. Weston thinks comes from Mr. Knightley, and we know secretly comes from Frank. Bad form for Emma. She shares the suspicion that it being Mr. Dixon with Frank.
Say that last bit to me again.
She tells Frank that Mr. Dixon sent the piano. Yeah. Last chapter, Frank went to London to get his hair cut, which was a cover for getting a piano for Jane.
And potentially getting a super awesome haircut as well.
Have you seen that? Is it the Gwyneth Paltrow one? The 96 one with
Ewan
McGregor? And he's wearing a terrible wig.
And then...
He's just wearing a terrible wig the whole time.
God, that is a fever dream in some way. It's my least favourite Emma adaptation. I do feel like Gwyneth Paltrow does do a good job with Emma, with her character. It's more like the editing of the film, the bits they've cut, the bits they've kept in. Like, it just feels too rushed. And I know it's a film, so you're not going to get the whole story.
It is very light.
I think I enjoyed the Anya Taylor-Joy version more in 2020.
We're going to have a whole episode for each of these adaptations to discuss them. So there are so many adaptations, it's going to be almost as long as the rest of the entire series of us discussing the book.
That's so true.
Emma is trying really hard to justify Frank's going to London to get his hair cut. Silly things do cease to be silly if they are done by sensible people in an impudent way. Wickedness is always wickedness, but folly is not always folly. Thoughts?
I disagree. Sensible people can still do silly and stupid shit all the time. I'm a very silly person, but I can do sensible things sometimes as well. And I think it works both ways. I also think the line afterwards, wickedness is always wickedness, and I'm like, that's a subjective viewpoint.
That would be a really cool quote to have on a t-shirt and then have like a picture from Wicked.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have... Sadly, I don't have the rights to any of the Wicked images, but I could still have a shirt that says wickedness is always wickedness.
No. That's the thing. In Wicked, it's not.
That's the point, right?
She's a good person.
Wickedness is not always wickedness. You know, someone being the big bad has their own reasoning. Emma could be seen as a villain throughout this novel, but we can see inside her head and we know that she's just trying to do the best for people, and she's a bit misguided.
To the Martins, Emma is the big bad villain. She's wicked. Oh, it drives me crazy. Folly's not always folly. I mean, I do agree with that part. You think you've made a mistake. It's not always a mistake. Sometimes it's what you're meant to do. But Frank could have come up with a more reasonable excuse.
But it was a last minute thing, and I think that shows that he was like, oh, this is something I should do for her. Oh, I'm just going to make any excuse I can to go to London. Had he had more time to plot, potentially he would have come up with a better idea. But he was like, tomorrow's Valentine's Day, it needs to be delivered tomorrow.
What if that's Frank's go-to excuse? Like, he's having a conversation, like someone comes up to him that he really doesn't like. They're like trying to have a conversation. He's like, oh, does the polite couple of minutes and then goes, I'm so sorry, it's been very nice to see you, but I've got to go and get a haircut. I'm late for an appointment to get my haircut.
Like in The Good Place when the guy's like, I've got to go to the gym.
I've got to go to the gym. Exactly. It's exactly like that. That's Frank's haircut.
Frank goes to the gym.
There's they don't have gyms at this point, as far as I'm aware. Like, I mean, they do have, like, boxing and things, like, you know, but I'm also
different,
like, they're not going to go and just work out at the gym to get ripped. He is gonna go and get his haircut to look good for his lady friends. Just another little trim, you know? What if about his facial hair? He could, like, haircut could also mean he's just going to go get his, like, facial hair tidied up too, if he has some, unless he's clean-shaven. Is Frank the kind of man who's clean-shaven? Probably. Is he the kind of man who would shave himself? I don't think so.
Yeah, but they've got valets for that.
That's true, but maybe he's just fancy and wants to go and get it done somewhere else.
Mrs. Weston makes sure that Mr. Woodhouse doesn't find out about this because she wants Frank to be a favourite. He cannot portray any imperfection. The ridiculousness of this. But Emma, of course, is still thinking about Mr. Knightley. He is not a trifling, silly young man, Mr. Knightley. Emma, why are you thinking about Mr. Knightley again?
Obviously, they've interacted throughout, but I feel like their interactions have been very limited compared to Emma's interactions with a lot of the other characters, like always coming back to Mr. Knightley says this, but he's wrong. Or,
he's like the voice in the back of her head.
He's the Jiminy Cricket. He's the little cricket guy on her shoulder who says, Emma, you're being a fucking idiot. And she just goes, shut up, flicks him off her shoulder, and he just keeps coming back. God damn it.
Emma's pretty sure that Frank's into her, though. She wants to understand the meaning of his manners towards her and how soon she needs to throw a coldness into her ear. It's not whether she will need to, it's when she needs to do it. I wonder what everyone else is going to be thinking when they see us together.
Mr. Weston would be very happy with that. I mean, we've already discussed Emma thinks very highly of herself. It's a big part of her personality is her self-confidence.
We could learn from this.
Yeah. We probably do need to be more self-confident, two of us.
Yeah, we're people pleasers. Emma's not a people pleaser.
She is the person to please.
Yeah, but she does care for other people's feelings at the same time.
Yes. She just has misguided ways of doing that.
She's so supremely self-confident. I feel like
she
this
knows
is something
she always is right.
body and be like, in a situation, be like, nope, I'm Emma Woodhouse. Yeah, I've got that confidence. Let's go.
Yeah, and then you just end up start matchmaking people, you know, you're just like, oh, these people should be together.
I have not tried to do that.
Yeah, you're not like that at all, are you?
No.
No.
Lies.
It's lies. Lies and slander. She's 100% a matchmaker. You are Emma. Or at least you've got some Emma to you. She is kind of fawning over Frank a bit, and she's obviously convinced that he is into her, but she's also still not interested in having a relationship with anyone. Even if she did like him, she's still planning to say no and throw him off.
Ace-coded.
A little bit. Pushing away suitors. You know, we do know that like, she's in love with Mr. Knightley and she just doesn't really know it yet. It's potentially like part of that, throwing the coldness.
Yeah.
But also, and we have discussed as well that she has no plans to get married because she doesn't need to be, she doesn't want to be. That makes sense, but it's just how she is like so determined to not have any kind of relationship with anyone.
That does sound quite ace.
Yeah.
We could learn a lot from Emma, not only the self-confidence, the just, I'm never going to get married. I don't need somebody else to complete me. Yeah. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
Many women could learn from her. Great example. In some ways, I would like to point out, in some ways, maybe not in all the ways.
Definitely not in all the ways.
The idea that her being in love with Mr. Knightley has saved her from wanting a relationship with anybody else, being hurt by Frank, is predicated on the idea that you can only love one person and not therefore be interested in anyone else.
Which is a flawed idea in its own.
It is. We know that. That's not how humans function. It's how some people would like to think that humans function or want humans to function. I
mean, it's how humans thought the world should function, especially at this point. Still now, but yeah.
But you look at the history of humanity, it's not how it goes.
No. Humans don't mate for life like animals do. No. Some animals.
You can choose to stay with one partner, but it does not mean you will not feel interest or attraction to other people. This is an eighth person.
Yeah.
Who doesn't really feel attraction.
The whole theory in it is like, actually, one person for everyone, or like one person at a time, at least. And so she can't have, I mean, she doesn't recognise her feelings for Mr. Knightley, but she can only have feelings and flirt with one person, then I think because Mr. Knightley kind of sneaks up on her feelings for him, like it's so gradual. She hasn't actively been trying to keep him away like she's planning to do with Frank. I think if she had thought about it sooner and that Mr. Knightley was a prospect, she potentially would have done the same thing to him. For Emma, it's also a bit of a, if there is only one person, I want the best one person. So she would just keep everyone away and keep, this coldness and being like, no, because if she's only going to get one shot, she's not going to waste it on anybody. She's not going to waste it on just some guy. It's going to be someone important. And I think because Mr. Knightley is that one person who she's known her whole life.
And maybe that's the problem with modern society and swiping culture, right? There's so many options. What's the word I'm looking for? You're paralyzed by choice.
Yeah.
You don't know who's actually going to be the one and worth it. And they're probably not going to put in the same amount of effort either because they also have so many options.
Yeah. Especially now, people are looking for different things. You know, back in the time that this was written, everyone had their kind of roles. The women didn't work, like, or at least not women of Emma's status. She would have been running the home and things like that. And so it's like, while she would have a choice of suitor, limited because of where she is, she's not looking for a husband. But if she was, she'd want someone who's wealthy and of good status and things like that. Nowadays, it's like, okay, well, are you looking for someone who's, like, you know, financially stable? Are you looking for a guy or a girl who's in a particular kind of, you know, what if they're in a field? Like, you know, what are their hobbies? Because that's also different. Things like as little as, like, what movies you like to watch can make a difference to...
Are you a morning person or an evening person? Do they actually intend to marry at any point?
The expectation of having children, that's as well. Like, in our time, that was just what people did. You had children. If you got married, you were expected to have kids. Nowadays, that's not the same thing. There's so many more politics and nuances to relationships that we've added. And not that that's a bad thing. It's a way of expanding and giving everybody a bit more agency. But it is also just, like, the whole thought of having to have one person
to be everything for you.
To be everything, yeah.
And the being everything for you has changed what that means now to what it meant then. Because now that your partner is meant to be your best friend, your emotional support, financial support, everything. That one person. And that's a lot to expect any one person.
That's insane, honestly.
Yeah. Also, is serial monogamy actually monogamy?
That's a good question. Because, yeah, serial monogamous is used as, like, oh, well, you're only in, like, long-term relationships or something like that. You know, you're, like... But monogamy is just, you were just with one person. So I think true monogamy is you are just with that one person. Serial monogamy is just being a decent human in relationships.
Counter.
Yeah.
You can be non-monogamous if it's consensual.
Yeah. Oh, no, not saying that, like, being non-monogamous is bad, but it's just, like, if you're going into a relationship with the expectation that you will be the only two people in that relationship, then serial monogamy is just being a good partner in a relationship then, because you are not with anybody else during that relationship.
Which seems like a real basic level.
Yeah, you think.
What's the saying? The bar is in hell?
Yeah.
The bar is in hell. And yeah, so few people clear the bar still, even though it's in hell.
But in terms of also people just, like, doing something good, I had a moment in the supermarket yesterday where someone did something nice for me. I'm gone into the supermarket to grab a couple of things. And you know when you only expect to buy a couple of things so you don't grab a basket?
Yeah, huh?
And so I had done that, and then I was like, actually, I really should grab a basket. And so I started going, like, I was still in the vegetable section of the Metro, so I was just kind of, like, trying to inch back. And a guy who had just walked in, who was on his phone, obviously saw that I was going to reach for a basket, and so he just picked one up and he gave it to me. I thought, oh, well, then he'll grab one for himself. But he didn't. He picked up a basket just to give one to me, and then he just kept going through. I felt so touched, and I was like, that is the nicest thing that's happened to me today. I feel like that's a really low bar. Just someone needs a thing, just you give it to them without them having to ask. Oh yeah, this person's reaching for a basket. It's like, I've definitely done that for someone. How low has my bar been set today that action is one of the nicest things someone's done, especially from a stranger. Like, and then I was just like, do I need to, and then I was thinking, like, in terms of my week, how is that, like, that action's really, like, affected me, how I felt with this entire week. This guy didn't even say a word to me. He made eye contact with me once. But I was just like, wow, that was so lovely. And I was just thinking about it for the next few minutes. And, like, I didn't see him again. He'd gone to the back of the supermarket. I didn't need to go that way. But I was just like, even after I'd left the supermarket, I was just like, oh, so nice and, like, really sweet.
Why did you not chase this man until you got off the phone and make out with him in the supermarket?
I did think that. I was like, okay, should I go give him my number? And I was like, no, Rachel, the bar needs to be higher than that for someone to get your number. But I'm also just like, what?
So basic dating doesn't even get above the bar. This guy is a step ahead.
This guy's a step ahead for not saying anything and talking on the phone the entire time with the one kind action that he did.
He made eye contact and did something for you without being asked. Like, yeah, this is amazing.
So yeah, that was just my one interaction yesterday that I was like, shit, the bar has been so low.
So back to Emma trying to be a nice person. She says goodbye to her father, Mrs. Bates and Mrs. Goddard. who are there for dinner with her father. They've literally already finished dinner when she's leaving because he has dinner so early.
So early.
She provided a plentiful meal for them. She wished she could know that they had been allowed to eat it. Because Mr. Woodhouse is like, I'm not sure about whether that's very healthy. So she makes sure they have full glasses of wine and large slices of cake when she leaves. Like, that's all she can do. She can't stop her father being like this. And these women are probably like, yeah, free food. Oh, crap, we have to kind of behave ourselves because it's Mr. Woodhouse.
How much food wastage goes on in their household as well, I wonder?
I think the servants would eat.
Would eat it. That's true. That's true. Probably not a lot then. If he's so particular, why would you even serve things that he disagrees with?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Emma would have done a nicer meal because there were guests, presumably than what her father would eat. Because it says she provided, because she's the mistress of the house, so she talks to the housekeeper and decides what the menus are for the week.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you can't stop Mr. Woodhouse from Mr. Woodhousing.
That's true. He's just his own being, his own entity. He is God on high in the house.
Okay, Emma's God.
Emma's God. Emma's God. No, Emma is everybody else's God. He's the false God who thinks he's in charge, but everybody still caters to, just in case he can cast a curse on them. Don't anger the gods. He's the God you don't anger. But if you're going to pray to anybody to give you the thing, pray to Emma instead.
That's a good point. Emma is arriving at the Coles. She arrives in her carriage, and at the same time, Mr. Knightley's arriving in his carriage, and they have this ridiculous interaction because he normally doesn't use his carriage. He doesn't have any horses. He's got rank but no spare cash. And he's just practical about stuff. He's got nobody to impress. So he doesn't really care about this. And it's so funny that Emma does. You're turning up as you should, like a gentleman.
Who are you? Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
And he doesn't use his carriage so often as would become the owner of Donwell Abbey. Like, Emma, you're ridiculous. Also, Emma walks everywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
She hardly ever takes the carriage. When she went to the Martins, she took it so she could lord over them and take Harriet away at a certain time. But otherwise, she just walks too.
Even in the rain, on the rainy days.
She only takes the carriage if her father is going somewhere. Like to Randall's, where she would normally walk.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Or
she's
to a party.
She's being
But I think this is
ridiculous.
as well also one of those things, because it's the Coles party. She's going to go in a carriage as well to lord it over them, the same way she did with the Martins.
I think she'd totally take a carriage anywhere at night.
That's true.
That's a thing.
True.
She would not be walking on it
But
at
I
night.
think if this was daytime, she would just also, it's how early is it? And what time of year is it? Because it could still be summer.
It's December.
It's still December.
No, it's not December.
No.
It's still winter.
Yeah.
It's
But
because it's February.
Yeah.
So it's winter and this
Cold,
is
so,
evening.
yeah.
So yeah, you totally have a thing.
Yeah.
They have a cute little flirt thing and he calls her nonsensical, but not in anger. They're having one of their flirt fights again. But note that Miss Bates and Miss Fairfax were expected to walk there even though it's winter. And it's evening. That's how they normally get places.
Yeah. And so Mr. Knightley...
Yeah.
And he does a kindness. He's so lovely. He's above the bar.
He is above the bar. As Emma arrives, she has all the consequence she could wish for. Because remember how she was like, I shouldn't go to the Coles because they're so far beneath me? Then they're like, you're the prettiest girl. And she's like, thank you, I know. Go on.
Go on, keep telling me.
The Westons turn up. She has the kindest looks of love and admiration from both husband and wife. And then the son comes up and makes sure that he's seated by her. And she thinks that he's used some skills to get to sit next to her.
He's sleight of hand swapped the name cards on the dinner date dishes next to each other.
Like, is that true? He was probably already seated next to her.
Yeah, this was the Westons party. You know 100% that they would have put Frank and Emma next to each other so that way they could, like, talk and fall in love and do the things they wanted them to do.
But it still feels like it's Emma's party, not the Coles party.
I think Emma would take over any party that was thrown, though. She's just one of those people who would walk into a room and then all of a sudden be like, everything
is about me.
She's like her father, though, I think, in that way, where people were like, oh, we really want to impress and cater to Emma. If Mr. Woodhouse was there, then everybody would be, like, catering to Mr. Woodhouse. But he's not, but Emma is. And so I think a lot of people are going to be catering to Emma and are just like, oh, no, you're so right. You're so smart, Emma, and so beautiful, Emma. Ray Brown was also just thinking of, like, Frank obviously sitting next to Emma partially so that it doesn't show that he wants Jane. But I was also just like, he would have known that Jane was walking. Does Mr. Knightley offer to go pick them up, or does he see them walking and pick them up from there? But
He
I'm
would have
like,
offered.
yeah, I know Frank can't, like, make it obvious, but I'm like, he could have done the same thing of being like, oh, I heard that Miss Fairfax and Miss Bates may need a lift in a carriage.
So he thinks
He
of
could
grand
have
gestures
picked
like
them up.
pianos, but not simple
But
everyday
not simple
things.
everyday things. Yeah, exactly. He's not meeting the partner.
Yeah, maybe he's not. There's a bunch of different people from Highbury there. Some of them are not named. We've got the Coles, and then they have another unobjectionable country family. Then it says, and the male part of the Cox's family. So I assume those are two separate parties, and that means that one family is not even named. And also, the male part of the Cox family, because Mr. Cox is a lawyer, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are invited, and the less worthy females come in the evening. So half the family comes to dinner and the other half comes in the evening. And the less worthy ones include Miss Bates, Miss Fairfax, and Miss Smith. It seems really rude.
That's really rude.
To have,
You're
like-
not good enough for dinner, but you're good enough to come and, like...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It seems so rude. And I wonder if Miss Smith would have previously been included in such things, or whether it's her association with Emma that means that she's included in these.
I think it would be her association with Emma, because, again...
It's Emma's party.
Well, yeah, it's Emma's party. No one's sure of Harriet's birth. But also, it's not like the other girls from Mrs. Goddard's are invited. I think the only reason Harriet is invited is for Emma. For Emma's sake. Because, again... catering and pandering to Emma's likes. The Coles are more than aware that Emma doesn't associate with them. And so it's like, well, if she's coming to this party, we've got to make a good impression, so we might as well invite a friend so that way she's,
Someone to talk
got
to.
someone to talk to.
The big gossip of the party, Mrs. Cole is telling them what she had learnt from Miss Bates. Pianoforte had arrived for Miss Fairfax, completely unexpected.
Mrs. Bates and Mrs. Cole are friends, yeah?
Miss Bates, yeah?
Yeah, Miss Bates. Because I'm like, if Miss Bates isn't invited to dinner, but is invited later on,
Mm-hmm.
but she's friends with Miss Cole,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
that's a toxic friendship.
Mm-hmm.
That's so shitty.
Oh.
Dang, okay, Coles, maybe Emma has a reason not to like you.
Well, Emma would probably do the same.
Yeah, it's true, she would.
There's this whole thing where Mrs. Cole's like, we just got a grand pianoforte. So the grands that we see these days are actually baby grands.
Oh, wow.
Because a grand piano looks weird. It's got like the bit from a baby grand and it's got like a tail on it. The one that Jane gets is an upright, which is
Yeah.
what we would consider a piano today
Mm.
because it's smaller. But still, it's kind of an inconsiderate thing considering the size of
Their
house.
place, yeah.
She loves her music and it's great that she should be able to do that. Mrs. Cole's like, well, we got this lovely piano and we were just talking about how terrible it is that we have this lovely piano and we really like music and there's not really anyone to play it. And the girls, might not ever get to playing it. But also, Miss Woodhouse is here and she's going to play it for us tonight. Yay, Miss Woodhouse!
Miss Woodhouse, Emma, play piano.
Emma's-
When you invite your guests and make them their own entertainment,
Women of a certain age, young ladies, and that even says later on, Miss Fairfax and Miss Woodhouse were the only young lady performers. It's expected that they will do this of an evening to entertain everybody. It's one of their duties, but also, you're supposed to do this to attract husbands.
yeah.
Otherwise, you just have Mrs. Weston playing, like she does when they dance.
Can you imagine going to a party and then having to play music and everybody looking at you?
That sounds terrible.
It sounds awful. No, I don't want that.
How could you enjoy the party? You'd spend the entire time in anxiety.
I wouldn't be able to think about anything or enjoying myself beforehand, and then afterwards I'd just want to drink because it was awful. And that would be unseemly.
You could also drink before and then you won't be conscious when you're...
Pass out before, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't perform in a piano.
It was very unladylike behaviour. Frank and Emma have... I don't know if you'd call this a flirt, actually. She's like, why are you smiling? He's like, no, why are you?
I'm not smiling, why are you?
He stumbles because he says that they have a grand pianoforte in London, that the Campbells do. And it's too large for Mrs. Bates's house. He's not meant to know them that well. And then he's like, no, but whatever reason you're smiling, I'm gonna smile for the same reason. You tell me what to believe. And here's the bit where Emma's full reasoning behind the Mr. Dixon thing comes out. I am sure there must be a particular cause for her choosing to come to Highbury instead of going with the Campbells to Ireland. Here, she'll be leading a life of privatation and penance. There, it would have been all enjoyment. And as for the pretense of trying her native air, in the summer, sure. But what can anybody's native air do for them in the months of January, February, and March? Good fires and carriages would be much more to the purpose. And she's not getting those here. This is why she brought up the whole think that Jane and Mr. Dixon had a thing. And of course, Frank has to be like, oh, yes, cool, let's go with that.
Yeah, she's made up this excuse for him, which he knows is a lie and would actually probably hurt Jane's character.
She purposely doesn't want to ask Jane about the piano because she believes this and she thinks she will be putting Jane in an uncomfortable situation to talk about it. And she sees Mrs. Cole talking to Jane and is like, can't you tell she's uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Why are you asking her questions about this? Even though she's made up this thing, she believes it and she is trying to be sensitive to Miss Fairfax about it. And later she does kind of beat herself up for telling Frank because she's like, that was not a good thing. I feel like was it something about wronged another woman or wronged the womanhood in doing this?
Yeah.
Frank's like, you've convinced me. The piano is an offering of love. The conviction seemed real. He looked as if he felt it. 'Cause
you did, Frank. He knows what the feeling is behind it because it's his feeling, but obviously Emma doesn't know that. So he's not technically lying, but he is being dishonest. He doesn't actually say it's from Mr. Dixon, does he?
Your reasonings carry my judgment along with them entirely.
So he is saying yes.
I saw it was paternal kindness. Then you mentioned Mrs. Dixon. In fact, how much more probable it would be a tribute of warm female friendship. Now I can see it in no other light than as an offering of love. So he's followed Emma's arguments and pretending to be convinced.
That's so sneaky and slimy of him to do that. He is slandering Jane's character.
I get the idea from the descriptions of this that Jane Austen's been to a lot of boring dinner parties because there's a rather long interval between the courses that has to be got through. The everyday remarks, dull repetitions, old news, and heavy jokes. And Jane Austen going, yeah, we've all been to these. We know how it goes. It's great that there's this new piece of gossip, but realistically, dinner parties are boring. It's the same people all the time.
Jane Austen preferring to be at home in bed.
Mood.
Honestly, she's so relatable. I have to wonder, Emma's a bit of an unreliable narrator. Is it actually as boring, or is that just how Emma is perceiving it?
Well, she thinks herself better than everybody, so she's going to think everything's boring. It's just Emma's perception, maybe. The ladies go to the drawing room first, because this is the thing. The ladies leave dinner first. The guys stay and discuss some matters of state. Or this, they talk about parish business. Frank leaves early because he's bored. Obviously, he wants to be with Jane. But he's like, I don't want to sit and talk. But also, he doesn't have anything to do with parish business. Harriet turns up and Emma's all like, oh, my little Harriet. It's so nice to sit and smile and look pretty and say nothing.
I love it when a dog sits next to me.
I mean, is that not how they wanted all women to be, though?
Yeah, it's true.
It was not necessary that Emma should approach Jane because there's so many people there. She felt too much in the secret herself to think the appearance of curiosity or interest fair.
Emma's like, I'll do her a kindness by not approaching her about this. But she's so determined to believe she's right. She's so sure of herself that she is correct that she doesn't even try and get the actual story from Jane. She's just like, yeah, this is obviously what's happened. And I won't bring it up because Jane will be embarrassed that I figured it out.
She can tell that it hasn't come from the Campbells, but that's the story that Jane's telling everybody. And it's not like Jane will tell her the truth. Even if she did try and bring it up with Jane.
Jane would be like, well, yeah, no, it is from the Campbells.
Exactly. Frank's the first guy, and he walks straight to Emma. He just happens to stop at Miss Bates and her niece to pay his compliments on the way past. And then he just happens to situate himself where he can stare at Miss Fairfax the entire time.
Wow, so subtle. But Emma's like, oh no, he's definitely here for me.
He's like, oh no, she's done her hair real weird. That's why I'm looking at her. That's all it is. And then I'll go ask her about it. Do you think I should ask her if it's like an Irish fashion? Because Mr. Dixon. And then he stands right in front of her so Emma can't even see her face. Covering.
I don't think that had properly registered for me.
Yeah, he does really well at trying to hide stuff. So much so that at the end of the chapter, there's dancing. Originally, nobody exactly knew where, probably Frank, because he wants to dance with Jane, but he has to dance with Emma first. And after some attempts, after the one dance to be permitted to begin again, they did not end up dancing again. And he's like, well, it's probably for the best. I would have had to ask Miss Fairfax, and her languid dancing would not have agreed with me after yours. Girls have germs. I don't like them. I don't like her.
Yeah, I would not have wanted to dance with her at all. Like, oh no, it's so sad. I would not have wanted to dance with the lady I have totally not been staring at all evening.
When you know what's going on and you read this, you're like, oh really, Frank? We can see right through you.
Yeah, it becomes so obvious.
Mrs. Weston sidles up next to Emma and is like, oh my god, guess what? What? Miss Bates and Miss Fairfax came in a carriage because I was going to offer them our carriage, and it's Mr. Knightley's carriage, and I think Mr. Knightley's in love with Jane Fairfax.
Dun, dun, dun!
And that's
Emma's shock horror. That is the horror movie jump scare for Emma.
It's the only reason he brought out the carriage at all. He'd just walk. No, he's unostentatious in his kindness, he's good-natured, he's useful, considerate, benevolent. He's not gallant, but he's humane. That's all it is. And also, he must not marry. Especially not Jane Fairfax. Do not take to matchmaking. You do it very ill. Mrs. Weston's like, it's not a bad idea. There's a little disparity of age. She's the same age as Emma.
Yeah, it's just a little bit. Don't worry about it. It's like 16 years. Don't worry about it.
Emma's like, he has no occasion to marry, to fill out his heart or his time. He does not care about Jane Fairfax. How could he bear to have Miss Bates belonging to him? She'd be doing the whole thing and ranting and talking about her mother's petticoat. Emma goes into a mimic of Miss Bates, and obviously Mrs. Weston's laughing's like, don't do that. You're making me laugh, and that's bad. I shouldn't laugh at Miss Bates.
It's so mean.
Mrs. Weston goes a little bit further to say, the piano also comes from Mr. Knightley. And he was like, nope. If he'd intended to give it to her, he would have told her, which is so true.
But he wouldn't have given it to them because he knows they have limited space and he's a practical man. He would have known it was an inconvenient gesture.
And he says so himself later. Surprises are foolish things. The pleasure is not enhanced and the inconvenience is often considerable. This is exactly the thing with Frank. When he turned up early,
he was surprising people.
Yeah. And they didn't have time to be prepared for him.
I feel like even just those two things, people should put it together of like, who else has done something recently that is surprising and inconsiderate? Hang on a second.
It is Frank Churchill. So he has managed to seat himself by Miss Fairfax. And Emma's like, oh, he's just sitting with her for no reason. As soon as Mr. Cole's like, we need to have some music, Frank Churchill gets up and goes over to Emma to convince her to sing and play the piano. And then he starts singing with her. Because obviously, then he can do the same thing with Jane, who comes after her. Emma seats herself with mixed feelings to listen and watch Frank and Jane. What if Emma's a bi disaster? And she's just like, Frank, Jane, Frank, Jane. Then she sees Mr. Knightley watching, and she loses track of what they're doing, because she's like, oh, but also Mr. Knightley.
It was like, Mr. Knightley, don't watch them. They're mine and you're mine. Shut up.
He saw her looking, so he comes and sits with her, and they end up talking, and she's like, it was really nice of you to send the carriage. You know that I'd want to do that more, but my dad wouldn't be happy with it. And he's like, look at you being a good girl. I know you want to do good things. It's so funny.
Yeah. Oh, you're being so lovely and considerate. Oh.
Look at you being nice. And he was like, He totally didn't give the piano. Frank and Jane singing together brings out the information that they sung together once or twice at Weymouth. So they could have fallen in love over the music. As well as Jane being practically perfect in every way.
You know what they should have done instead of falling in love? Should have started a band.
The Orphans Band.
The Orphans Beatles.
Just the two of them travelling round. The Orphans of Highbury.
I think they'd be great.
When the dancing crops up, Emma is watching Mr. Knightley again.
Does Mr. Knightley dance?
He doesn't. He stays talking to Mrs. Cole. Emma's watching him. She's like, what? He doesn't tend to dance. What if he goes and asks James Fairfax? Oh no. But he's talking to Mrs. Cole. Jane's asked by somebody else, and he's still talking to Mrs. Cole. You're like, really, Emma? You seem particularly interested in Mr. Knightley, even though you're going to be dancing with Frank Churchill?
You're very, very worried if he actually has feelings for Jane. Even though you're convinced he doesn't. Of course, you're convinced that he doesn't.
Because she says to Mrs. Weston, Mr. Knightley's obviously not interested in Jane Fairfax. And later on, she says to Mr. Knightley, Frank Churchill's obviously not interested in Miss Fairfax. Like, she knows everybody's heart. But it makes me think of Lydia Bennet about Wickham and Miss King saying he doesn't care two straws for her.
Lydia wasn't wrong. He doesn't care two straws about her. He cares about her money.
Yeah, so slightly different. The certainty of being like, oh, no, don't worry, he does not care.
That was a very long chapter. It's actually quite interesting that she spends so much time... I mean, I guess like it wouldn't make sense to split up the chapters of the Coles party, but that she spends so much time on the Coles party. Like,
I don't know, I reckon you could split that chapter, maybe?
If Jane Austen had split it, where she would split it? I guess maybe, like...
After dinner.
But then that whole first part, I think, is then far too short. And you still end up with a longer second chapter. But I feel like it gives us so much information. There's so much that goes on and so much to work with.
So much going on beneath the surface.
We are now at the point of the story where all of the main characters are in play.
Yeah.
Like, we're not waiting for anybody else to show up, except we're waiting for the Eltons to come back. That's the only people who are missing from this party.
Yeah, and make things even messier.
Mm-hmm.
How about the Coles, who are Mr. Elton's best friends, having a party when he's not home?
Would Mr. Cole know about Mr. Elton's original intentions to Emma? Would he have told his best friend?
Yeah.
Probably.
It was indicated because Mrs. Cole said something to Miss Bates, so Miss Bates almost spills it, and then she's like, no, but that would never, no. I'm going to change the topic right now.
Maybe the reason they're having this party now is because he's not there and they can invite Emma.
Ooh.
Because they would know that it's like, well, we can't have him near her because she rejected him and he probably wouldn't be happy regardless of if he was here. But with him not here, they know as well, not just that he had feelings, but that he proposed and was rejected. It was not a good rejection. It was like a pretty...
Well, I mean,
fight.
Had he not been such an arse in the way that
That's
he proposed,
true. Yeah,
maybe...
that's true.
Yeah.
I think the Coles, they know that Emma doesn't really like them, surely. Can't have them in the same room, it would be too awkward. We want Emma to attend. She probably would have still gone if Mr. Elton was around. She would have just been more unhappy about it.
Because she couldn't show that she was avoiding it because of Mr. Elton.
Exactly. So she would have still gone, but I think maybe him not being there would mean that Emma would have had a better time and thus would still be more likely to think better of them as well.
That is our very long discussion of chapter 26.
Woo!
I've been Frances Duncan. This has been Rachel Pilwell.
Bye!
Thank you for listening, and we wish you happy reading. Insert beatboxing. Okay.
Jane Austen. Sorry, no, hang on. Amateur Austen High.